Well, Trump's first 6 months have been one big, beautiful bill. And that's the subject of tonight's riff. So over the past fortnight, President Trump has had a phenomenal run, culminating in the signing of the one big, beautiful bill on July 4th, 249 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And let's not forget, in the run-up to the July 4th big, beautiful bill signing, Mr. Trump launched a bunker buster raid on Iran, obliterating their nuclear facilities. The Supreme Court gave him a thumbs up to deport illegal migrants that are not of their nation of origin. NATO leaders agreed to 5% of GDP spending on defense. The Supreme Court ruled lower courts cannot blanket nationwide injunctions. Canada scrapped the digital services tax on American companies. Border Patrol arrested just over 6,000 people for illegal crossings, a new record low. A trade deal was announced with Vietnam, a top 10 trading partner, and an unexpectedly positive jobs report, which, among other things, showed that since January, native-born jobs have increased by over 2 million, and foreign-born jobs have fallen by 543,000, and blue-collar wages are rising by roughly twice as fast as prices. And then there's the one big, beautiful bill. Contrary to hysterical opposition by Democrats, who would have favored a $4 trillion tax hike, there are a couple of very important points to the massive tax cut and deregulation bill that includes new financing for border security and the military. One point is that the new tax relief is overwhelmingly beneficial to working-class families. Now, a study by the Joint Committee on Taxation, no friend of tax cuts, shows that the largest proportional tax benefits go to workers and families making less than $50,000 a year. That's the Congressional Joint Tax Committee. The single biggest tax cut, a 27% drop for those making less than $30,000 a year. Those between $30,000 and $40,000 get a 9.5% tax cut. $40,000 to $50,000 get a 7.2% cut. If you're up to $50,000 to $60,000, you get a 5.5% tax cut. And all right, if you get over $1 million, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, I welcome their success. But their tax cut for millionaires is only 3.3%. So the Democrats' knee-jerk reaction about tax cuts for the rich, completely untrue, just as it always has been, completely untrue. Then there's the Democratic charge that the bill will gut the social safety net, also completely untrue. So-called safety net servings will come from cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, especially part-time work requirements, like volunteering just 20 hours a week in order to get Medicaid or food stamps. The public overwhelmingly supports these work requirements. Democrats used to, when Bill Clinton worked with Newt Gingrich on a successful shift from welfare to workfare. But these are not your father's Democrats. Therein lies the problem. The party is moving rapidly towards socialism. That is a big political loser. Meanwhile, as Steve Moore is pointing out, the bill advances school choice, medical savings accounts, mining and drilling on federal lands. It prevents student loan forgiveness, and electrical vehicle mandates are out. It expands opportunity zones for the inner cities. It lowers tax rates for small businesses. There's tax relief for service workers' tips and overtime pay, and a higher deduction for seniors on Social Security. Full cost expensing will be made permanent for machinery and equipment. And one of the most powerful growth stimulus, factories will be eligible for immediate expensing over the next couple years. That is a huge winner for blue-collar jobs and wages and productivity, and not least for onshoring. The administration estimates booster rocket economic growth. Real wages for workers could jump by $7,000 a year. Business investment by 10%. And meanwhile, real GDP could add a full percentage point increase. And that could drive the economy into the 3 to 4% growth rate. And as a result, the growth dividend will increase revenues and reduce budget deficits by over $5 trillion. And when you add that to nearly $3 trillion from tariff revenues, plus $1.5 trillion from interest savings, and $1.6 trillion in discretionary spending cuts, total deficit reduction can come to over $11 trillion. And that'll go a long ways toward ending Joe Biden's tax and spend and regulate and borrow policies that have done so much damage to the affordability of the blue-collar workforce. Mr. Trump calls all this a new golden age. You know what? Given all the successes of just the first 6 months of his new term, I'd say he's right. In fact, I'm taking the over. And that's the riff.